Hi, and thanks for tuning in to our live radio show. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany will begin in just a few moments. Please stay tuned. Kindly take this opportunity to share this show on your platforms because change can only come when we stand together as one, especially when it comes to ending the stigma on mental health.
You are not alone, and help is out there.
Kids have mental health issues, and we also need to learn coping skills.
Let's get started and let the show begin. See you soon.
Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I'm Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And with me is Dr. Gregory Chase. And
Hi, good morning.
We're doing part 2 of yesterday's show. If you missed it, you might want to take it on replay because it's a sensitive, important topic that statistically is needing to be talked about a lot more because boys males are less likely to report abuse for several reasons than females. And like Dr. Greg said yesterday, we're just going to go males and females and not try to offend any of the other LGBTQ categories, just designated at birth, going like that. But
I just want to jump in right there.
Day from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
The radio knows that.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Don't get your temples.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner,
All right.
licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida.
Happens all the time.
Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hello, and thanks for watching, tuning in. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today we're doing part 2 of the show from yesterday. We didn't get enough information out, and my guest today, Dr. Gregory Chase, has been nice enough to wake up at the break of dawn at 5 a.m. in Alaska time to come on and not only hear stories of callers. Today we are accepting callers 866-826-1340. I'll say that again a little bit too. 866-826-1340. And discuss why males, boys or males, are less likely to report abuse than females, or they think it's a female thing. Before we get fully into it, I would like to say hi to Ed.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, Ed. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Ed.
Good afternoon. Ready for part 2? Showered and changed my clothes.
Yes.
I did the same. Good deal.
You look nice in blue, Ed.
Huh?
You look nice in blue. I even have
thanks.
ones to match.
I guess I match my cup, I guess. I don't know. I just
Your
felt
eyes.
blue today. I mean, I have like 8 black Tan Talk shirts. This one doesn't even have it on there. So I don't wear it that much because it doesn't have the logo and stuff on
black
it.
and then one red one. And then
Yeah, I'm not keen on the red one.
I like the red one. But I'm a
Thanks.
fan of black too. That's my signature color.
The red one makes me look like a big stop sign.
Goodness.
I don't think so. But anyway, the red one matches the logo for Tan Talk Radio.
Mm-hmm.
So
Blended.
we're going to get to this. I'm expecting some callers today. So
Okay.
when you guys call in, please be nice to Ed and say hi. And
Got it.
And let's get on with the show. Thanks, Ed, for being here. So where we left off yesterday, and hello everyone, and thanks for being here for part 2. Statistically, we're getting greetings from all over the world. Jason from India on YouTube live, sending lots of love from India. Mohammed is off of YouTube as well. Larry Penton, thank you for joining us today again. You're welcome to call in today and talk about your trigger warning podcast. And Joe Potosi from Facebook, I was hoping you'd call in as well. He wrote this wonderful book, When the Dust Settled. Speaking of male boys that were abused, and it's award-winning, by the way, his book. And Summit Innovations, great show yesterday. Looking forward to part 2. Giving a few hellos to everyone and everything. Thanks for being here. And okay, so my guest today, if you missed yesterday, Dr. Gregory Chase, he's the founder of a website and he's founder, director, editor, everything of a website called childabuse.com. And it's been on since 1990 to present. And he's got it, he keeps it going on. I wish I had a better graphic of this, but basically prevention through education and awareness, childabuse.com. I've been collaborating with him. We got my book coming up. That's going to be on the front page, free to download. There's a light within you that never goes out. It was free for years, and then something changed, and then now it's going to be free starting Monday to download. It's a book of self-help book. Took 18 months of research with real stories from abuse survivors of incest, adult survivors of incest and child sexual abuse. And so it's not really an easy read. It's not a bedtime story, but it's helped a lot of people. So, and I've never felt right charging for it. So it's going to be on that. Anyway, Dr. Chase.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's certainly early morning here in Alaska, but I know you guys are enjoying a nice, warm Miami and Florida day. So yesterday we laid the groundwork for child sexual abuse amongst males. Now, I want to recognize that there's males, females, and then there's the an important part of the LGBTQ T plus um, uh, aspect of our society that needs to get addressed, and that's something that I'm going to speak with Tiffany about, because there's a whole nother range in there that abuse unfortunately resides that we need to talk about and bring out as well. So we did girls and boys on an earlier show earlier in the year, and this is part two of boys and sexual abuse amongst boys. And yesterday we laid that groundwork pretty firmly, and I'm going to run through it really quick here, just a real fast run through. So for instance, by age 16, a young male, we found in a research study by our U.S. government, the NIH, National Institute of Health, and the Centers of Disease Control. They're involved in a lot of things more than just infectious disease. 1 in 6 boys, or 16.7% of males, young males in our U.S., experience unwanted sexual advances, behavior, touch with an adult or older child, like either a neighbor or an older family member or something like
1
that.
in 6.
1 in 6.
So
So
imagine
you
our
look
brother
around the
out there.
room. If you're on in your car, look around the street and the freeway. 1 in 6 young kids out there.
If you're not one
You're
of them,
dropping
you're
your
lucky.
kid off at school. 1 in 6. Just count them out,
Those are
and
ones
it's
that we
very
know about.
sad. Now, here's what's key, and exactly what Tiffany just brought up. 2 to 5% of those are going to report that openly they're going to report it to a physician or healthcare professional like Tiffany, or to their teacher, or any one of us mandated reporters, or just to another adult friend who might be able to help them. Only 2 to 5%. And we're guessing that 16.7 could be as high as 40%. Why is this? Why aren't they reporting it? Why aren't the kids reporting it? Well, that's what we dove into yesterday. We're going to run through that a little bit quicker today so that we can get into the meat of the matter. So, first of all, media's been dead silent on this issue. They're talking about anything and
They're
everything
afraid
else.
to talk about it.
Yeah, and we're not going to politics, but that's where they all are. But remember, God forbid, if there's a church involved, the media's on it. They're going to talk all about that priest. They're going to talk about that church. They're going to show the outside of the building. They're going to show the robes of the priest, and they're going to do all this stuff. But what about the victim? But it's crickets. Yes, I don't even hear crickets. It's so silent. It's deafening. There's just nothing going on. They don't talk about what's happened to that little boy. They don't bring out the fact that there's actually a victim in all this, and it's not the church. Oh, they'll act like, oh, we didn't know, and look what's happened to us, and it's bad for our image. Who's the victim? The churches. Some
Often
of these churches trying to be the victim, and
you
then
have to protect the minors. They can't release minors' names and all that stuff, and it depends on the
right,
family.
but they don't talk about in general
like
what
anonymous,
happens to these boys.
right?
Yeah,
They
I
don't
don't want we don't want a parade of their pictures out. That's not what I mean
right.
here. But what I do mean specifically is there's a victim, and those issues need to be addressed. And so what we need to do is, well, what can we all do? I'm not trained to spot this. I'm just a school teacher. I'm a flight attendant. I work on a train, in on the metro, on a bus. Well, no, you actually see people, you see children every single day, and there are signs and symptoms you can watch for, and it's really important to watch for these things. And some of those are aggressive behavior, depression. They may be acting out in other ways. They may be self-harming while sitting there. It's very, very difficult. Larry Pendon writes, emotional suppression is part of the problem. Stigmas, taboos, stereotypes. Larry's onto this, and it's very important to understand that this contributes to that silence in non-reporting of sexual trauma amongst, well, anyone. And so males, females, and anyone who has been abused, no matter how they self-identify. So that's really important. So there are 7 core tenets in male
Before
child
we get to that,
victimization.
Dr. Greg, we have a caller.
Yep,
Before we get to the
we
7,
do.
we have a
How
caller.
exciting!
We
All
have
right.
a caller, Joe.
Okay, I'm up.
Joe, thanks for calling in. Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany.
Hello, Tiffany.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
How you doing?
So Joe's the author
taking
of
my
a
call.
book that I promote often, and I know his voice, but good friend of mine. But When the Dust Settled, it's been award winning, and about a boy about abuse and reporting abuse. And after writing this, he's had a lot of family conflict because he was telling the truth about how he grew up. And go ahead, Joe.
Thank you, Dr. Chase, for coming on yesterday and today. I watched the replay of the show, and it was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you very
And
much.
his reaction was, wow, wow, wow. What a great show. Because I'm sure that and I can say this because you're a survivor. You wrote about it in your book, and has been nominated and a finalist in so many awards for this book. It's a very wonderful read, and I promote it on my show because of it being such great. But a lot of what Joe says when he's a guest on the show is also that people don't discuss enough, and that he tried to go to the church. He tried to get help, and they dismissed him. I think I don't know. I hope I'm not talking over like you've called in for, but go ahead, Joe. What was your question or feedback?
Feedback. You're exactly right. So as a young boy, I suffered, first of all, I'm a survivor of child abuse, but not sexual abuse. I want to make that clear. But I want to talk about the sexual part in 1 second. So, yes, the school failed me, my extended family failed me, and the church failed me. I did cry out for help. I did reach out for help. And I was beaten repeatedly by both my mother and stepfather as a result of me, as they say, opening your mouth. You putting our business out on the streets. That's something you don't do. And today, I still live with those physical scars. I have a deviated septum from when I was 8 years old, and I have scars on my head from a lot of the trauma I endured. But anyway.
And also, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Dr. Greg was saying a lot of trauma can lead to physical, psychosomatic symptoms later on in life. And Joe's gone through so many, like coming up with a knee surgery and all these other things that have had a lot of, I mean, it's almost like one thing after the other, and could have a lot to do with his upbringing. His very abusive upbringing.
It certainly sets you back. It becomes a handicap that you need to overcome. But Joe, you tried to reach out for that help, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's shameful.
So you
well,
tried.
It gets worse.
What advice would you give? And we're getting close to our first break time. So, and we have another caller waiting. But what advice would you give to people that want to reach out, that you've learned since? Because that was years ago, and hopefully our system is updated and a little bit better now than 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
I would like to say that don't be afraid to reach out. There's plenty of help out there. You carry the emotional baggage for years and years and years if you don't, including you guys talked yesterday about suicidal ideations, and I discussed that in my book. You have a value and a significance in the world in which we live. Your condition does not have to be your conclusion. You have a value. It's unmeasurable. And, just real quickly, when we were kids, my mother took us to counseling 3 times. And every single time, she pointed the finger squarely at me and my sister for all our issues. And on the sexual side, if I can share this real quick, Tiffany, my sister she was raped by my stepfather for 13 years. As kids being locked in the basement, my mom would be at work. I could hear him creeping around upstairs where her bedroom was. I told my mom. I reported it to my mother. There is something going on. Her solution, she'd get drunk and she'd cuss my sister out, a little girl call her a slut and a tramp, and my mom started sleeping on the couch. That was the solution. And
yeah, this is
anyway,
just plain shameful. This type of behavior, and this is why Tiffany, I, and other professionals are out here, really sharing this voice, bringing you out to share your painful words for all of us to hear, and realize we're not alone. None of us are alone in this.
Right. Exactly right.
You're brave and quite the hero to come out here and share this.
Yeah, over and over and over again too, and no matter what.
I want to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's my MO.
Yesterday about how predators don't always repeat history and stuff. Joe could go on forever, but he just because he was a survivor of abuse, he did not repeat history.
I broke the cycle. I broke the cycle with my own sons.
We're going to get into transgenerational abuse, and that it's really for the most part, it's a myth. There's a little bit of truth to it, just because statistics bear that out. But overall, it is a myth, and unfortunately, it prevents folks from reaching out because of the embarrassment. I don't want to be known as I've been abused, because now people think I'm abusing. I'm a potential for abusing others. You're coming up on a break.
We covered that in part 1.
Yeah,
but
we did.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chase. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Brave. Thanks for being part of the team, and let us go. And we have to head to our first commercial break. And we'll be back with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany, and we'll get to our next caller in a second when we return after this.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
If you are like most people, you worry with the financial challenges you face today. How do you protect your family from financial ruin? How will you reduce your liabilities and get out of debt sooner? And how can you deal effectively with the constant changes in your job, your career, and your business? Overcoming your financial challenges is like building a house. You must build from the ground up. You must learn how to make more money, save more money, grow your money, and protect your money. Forever Forward Financial specializes in teaching you these 4 basic money skills so you can achieve your dreams and end your worry. Call us today and schedule your complimentary, no-obligation meeting to discuss your needs and concerns. Call Scott Bigley at 727-422-7761.
Hi, this is your host, Tiffany Warner from Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I want to thank you for all your support on ending the stigma on mental health for over the past 7 years and with over 600 episodes, as well as several award nominations and placing as a finalist in 3 categories on the People's Choice Podcast Award last year. If you're listening to this on audio, please visit and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Moments of Clarity with Tiffany and enjoy viewing previous shows in case you miss any live. If you're interested in advertising and would like to promote your company, it is affordable and an effective way to get your company the attention it deserves. I also welcome potential guests as well, and all information can be found on my website at mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you again for your continued support, as change can only come when we stand together as one.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hello and welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name is Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I'm your host. Today we're doing part 2 of a topic that yesterday was supposed to be just one day. And we're having part 2 because there's so much more that needed to be said and that people don't discuss enough. And my heroic guest here with statistics and helping me understand and explain and educate is Dr. Gregory Chase. He's emergency medicine from 1987 to 2019, retired May of 2019, and he's the editor, founder, and director of a website, childabuse.com, which is a very big, huge resource. And that's been since 2019, 1990, 1990.
Yeah, in 1990. Yeah.
1990 till now. Anyway.
A long time. Yeah.
And so welcome back. And before we went to break, we had a caller Larry. Larry, if you're still there, thanks for calling in. Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany.
Hey, Tiffany, this is LP.
Hi, LP. How are you?
I'm doing great, Dr. Chase. I'm so glad to be able to talk with you, and nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Dr. Chase, this is the repentant that's been leaving the comments.
Yes, I read the last one. That is we've got very smart listeners, all of them. This is fantastic.
Yeah, you're taking
I read it.
Job on that because that's my job to read the chat questions. And
well, it's too bad. Too bad. I just stole your spot for a moment because that was fantastic. I wanted to make sure that's getting out there. That's emotional suppression is part of the problem. You're right, Larry. You're spot on.
Jeez.
You know, because I'm a paramedic and a firefighter, and we deal with a lot of these things in the field of pre-hospital emergency medicine. And Dr. Chase, you being an emergency doctor, as you know, these are some of the things that, as a paramedic, when I get these 911 calls, I got to go out and do an assessment. I got to figure out what's going on. Or you hurt, or you injured, or you dying, or you dead. And I got to be the eye in the hurricane of your emergency.
Yes.
For those that are in that area, whether it be the caregivers, the bystanders, the other first responders. So when we're talking about silence in reporting, I'm a mandated reporter. Tiffany and Dr. Chase are all mandated reporters. It starts with me because I'm the one that's making the first contact of the mandated reporters outside of the emergency medical dispatchers or the 911 operator that initially gets the call. So when I come out, that's when a continuation of the documentation process starts. It starts with the 911 call. Everything is being recorded. Everything is being written down and stuff. So whoever's making that call has to be intentional. They have to be very specific on what's going on. It could be a teacher that saw a kid draw something in a book or a journal that gave them a red flag that this kid may be sexually abused. This kid may be dealing with some form of abuse. Since we're talking about sexual abuse, we'll just stick with that. They may hear a conversation between two peers in the school, and part of that conversation was, and, you know, I'm so tired of, you know, dad or uncle or grandma touching me inappropriately. That starts that documentation process too. When it comes to males, I always say this. Well, let me say this first. Mental health crisis is the world's oldest continuous pandemic that's been around since the beginning of mankind, and it ain't going nowhere. Whether it's the stigmas, the taboos, the stereotypes, the judgment, the pain, the shame, the guilt, the trauma, all of those things play a part into reporting as well as not reporting of any abuse, any trauma from anybody, regardless of gender. So let's just put that on the table and keep it there.
Love it. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that makes it clear, Larry. Yeah.
I mean, that's why I started the show. I mean, we've made some progress. You're starting to see mental health, especially since COVID, on the news, and mental health in the NFL, and mental health in the Olympics, and mental health. But when I first started the radio show years ago, nobody talked about mental health. In fact, they were afraid to be guests on the show and put themselves out there. So it's coming. It's getting. That's why I say change can only come when we stand together as one, because it takes a lot of people to believe the same thing to see a movement.
Yeah, definitely. Larry, I've had a lot of ambulance bay conversations with paramedics who just look just downtrodden after coming out of witnessing what they found was child abuse and walking in on and saving a child from an abusive adult or older child abusing that child, and the look is the same in their eye whether they've been doing it 5 minutes or 30 years. It's just something you just don't ever get used to, and it is hard. And you just know that look when I'm talking with a fireman or a paramedic like yourself. You know that you've got a challenge on your hands with a family and a child that needs real help.
Mhm.
So you stepping in there first, the ground game, you're starting that first call to children's services to save that child, and then we'll take that football and run with it. But you've started that ball rolling, and it's up.
Mhm.
It's a team effort, and then it goes from you to me, and then off to Tiffany over here, who will eventually, hopefully, get that child in her office and be able to help turn this around and heal that child.
It takes a whole community to help. For
It's
instance, and I
it's a
don't want to
team.
like completely sidebar, but I was seeing the news on the shooting, the Florida shooting, the school shooting, and Nicholas Cruz or whatever his name was, and they were saying he had mental health problems and that his mother was trying to get him into counseling. The therapist wanted once or twice a week counseling, but they were going once every month or every 3 months and not following treatment. Now they're saying, trying to get him from death sentence to life or whatever, saying that was untreated mental health issues. But what mental health issues can you like say that it's premeditated and all this stuff? Then that it just makes me irk that the therapist was trying to do something and then they're saying unresolved mental health issues and cause somebody to go shoot up 17 people or plus, in a school, pull a fire alarm, premeditated, all that stuff. They always try to target it to the mental health spectrum, but could be so many other variants that lead to that kind of premeditated sociopathic murder.
Absolutely. I want to close with this. When I say emotional suppression, I want to explain what I mean to the listener. And Dr. Chase, just like I do, as little boys, we are taught emotional suppression. I'm going to tell you what I was taught as a kid from older uncles and relatives. There are only 5 reasons that a male should cry and show emotion. And this is not in any order. You had better have be crushed between a couple of cars, falling off a multi-story building, have a bone sticking out of your skin. Somebody had to be dead or dying, or it's okay if you won or lost a major sporting event. Anything outside of that, it's a problem. You can't cry. You can't show your emotions. You can't talk about what's bothering you. So that was what I was taught.
Yeah, collectively they'll say, "Suck it up."
Right. Yeah.
It's such a shame because actually females love a guy that shares their emotions for the most part, and as long as they're not oversensitive and like crying because the sunset's so beautiful or something. I don't know, not too emotional, but
So there's some limits.
It's such a pretty sunset. No, like just the real stuff. It's okay to. In fact, crying is not a sign of weakness. Crying is actually, Dr. Chase, you could say that. Like, it's our body releasing stress pheromones. Tears are physical release, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You keep that in, it's going to eat you up and increase your stress and inflammatory response. It's just not healthy. But just like Larry was saying, is that boys and who are sexually abused and used, if you wish, that has nothing to do with how masculine they are. Crying about that or saying something about that doesn't talk to their masculinity. That's a whole nother separate issue. And what the abusers are trying to do, or those who are trying to ignore that child being abused, like an adult, a shameful adult, they're saying, just suck it up. Just go sit down and suck it up. That just be a man.
Not that nobody's even
That's how
saying
they
that.
address
The
that.
boys are afraid to say anything because it will make them look like they weren't strong enough or man enough, or they allowed someone to do that to them. Like
Yeah,
that they
boys are not grown men. They're children. They
Mhm.
don't have our complex ability to
Oh,
understand what just happened and what's happening.
and it's a weird situation to be put in. So they
Yeah,
a child doesn't know what to do and be like, "Ew, you weirdo!" Like it's just like, "Are you really kidding me? Like this is happening." Like nobody knows how to
yeah.
react. Like it's one
Well,
of those situations,
they don't
Tiffany.
know. You've got an adult who's very good at what they do. They know how to
Or
exploit
older
and
teen.
manipulate and coerce, older teen even, coerce that boy into unwanted sexual experiences and how to keep them silent, keeping them quiet. So this
Mhm.
can just go on. And of course, this is someone in authority over that child, whether it's an authoritative family member, a supervisor of some sort, a teacher, a coach, whatever. It could be any of those things. We have teens working at the Frosty Freeze or at any of these other little tiny shops, all these different little businesses. It could be something going on in any of these small businesses, anywhere. And the coaches at school or the teachers or this, anything like that, or a neighbor, someone in authority who's older, and that child says, oh, that's someone in a position of authority over them, and so they're afraid to say anything, especially if it's like a coach at school or maybe someone, a clergy person in a church. It's very difficult. Or that step parent who's violent, and you're fearful, you don't want to get hurt, you don't want your
Statistically, a non-biological adult in the home
yes,
is more likely
exactly.
to abuse the child sexually, whether it's a
Yeah.
male or female, if it's
Yeah, yeah,
non-biological.
more than 70% of the time, yes, and it
Mhm.
usually is in the inner circle. Yes,
I want to
absolutely.
jump back to the chat room, and I want to just thank you, Tiffany and Dr. Chase. I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you to network with you more. But thank you for having this two-part conversation. LP out.
Yeah,
Thank you,
we
LP.
enjoy having you jumping in.
Yes, and we'll be in touch. And thank you for your positive and very educational feedback. It's
Yes.
we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling in. Callers are always welcome. 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340 if you have any feedback. Or you can leave questions live on the show. We're on LinkedIn Live, Tiffany Warner. Also, Twitter, MOC with Tiffany, and Moments of Clarity with Tiffany on YouTube, as well as Tiffany Warner, MOC with Tiffany, Facebook, and on 106.1 FM or 1340 locally, and so forth. But anyway, welcome to view us virtually. YouTube's probably the most common. Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. Come see us live and leave some chat. And or call in 866-826-1340. 866-826-1340. And don't forget to say hi to Ed when you do. Dr. Greg, it's time for our second break, and then we can
Okay.
just do the 7 things that we were about to get into. But
All right. Well, we'll get it wrapped.
let's take this break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.
You're listening to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. We welcome your input at 866-826-1340. Tiffany will be right back after this.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hello, my name is Lucy Lopes, and I'm a real estate agent that supports ending the stigma on mental health with Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. I am also passionate about helping you buy or sell your home. With times being so difficult, I'm here to help. Contact me at lucylopes.com. That's LUCYLOPES.com. Let me assist you through this pandemic and know that you are not alone.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment. and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one.
Are you looking for a great book? If you like to root for the underdog, Joe Potosi's book is a book for you. A real American Odyssey that will grab your attention with its fast-moving narrative. You won't be able to put this masterpiece down. When the Dust Settled by Joe Potosi. Go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Zulin Press.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
We are back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner. To join in the discussion, call 866-826-1340. Now, here's Tiffany Warner.
Hello and welcome back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany. My name's Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor and I'm your host. With me is Dr. Gregory Chase. He's retired ER emergency room doctor for 38 years and founder, director of the website since 1990, childabuse.com. And if you would like a free copy of the book I wrote, There's a Light Within You That Never Goes Out, it's free to download on there and starting Monday. At the very latest. Anyway, welcome back, Dr. Gregory Chase. If you're just tuning in, we've been having some wonderful callers, wonderful feedback regarding why boys, and this is a part 2 to a 2-part show, if you didn't know that, to why boys are less likely to report abuse of any kind. And statistically, 1 in 6 boys are abused and have not reported it it's just so much more common than anyone thinks, and so not talked about than anyone should. So leave it to me to bring it up. Welcome back, Dr. Chase.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. So we touched on just one of the 7 core tenets in male child victimization. Boys and can be sexually used or abused, and it really has nothing to do with their masculinity, because a young boy is sexually abused by an older male or an authoritative male, a male in a position of authority, coach, teacher, supervisor, a family member of some sort. There's this myth that, the child's masculinity is at question now. Whether you agree with that definition of masculinity or not, boys are not men. They're just children.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow up to be men. And this is where the problem starts, is that now this adult male who was a abused boy is now looking back at this going, oh my gosh, and there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, and that is used against them, of course, initially to keep them quiet so they don't report this abuse, and later on it plays a big role in them not seeking the help they need. And of course that they become their own storm, the storm of anger and just very risky behaviors, yes, whether it's sexually or drugs and alcohol abuse,
to identity crisis, to so many things.
Right.
And another thing also that should be brought up is they think, well, it would happen so long ago. What can I do about it now? And it's never too late to get help. It's never too late.
No, it's not. And you had a story yesterday about an adult male who was sent to you. Tell that story again really quick. That was a great story.
I want to get through your stuff. But
all right. Well, anyways, that was a great story where Tiffany was sent
for me. Okay, so
I'm going to just tell it for you because it's a great story.
Okay, so
and you saved this man. Tell the story.
Sent to me, you're not getting out of it. Anger management, because other people were getting FMLA and other things, and he was like, "Why them and not me?" So he came in and was angry, and I did a psychological evaluation, like I do with everyone, an intake, and Out comes the PTSD part, and he was sexually abused. Pulled a knife. Someone pulled a knife at him, and when he was 10 years old, and did something. Anyway, that's in my book, by the way. And he had so many anger issues from it. He didn't realize that that would be the cause of it or the root of it until we started working on it. And he said that would had something to do with it. He was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s. And then he had issues with his kids. He couldn't go to baseball games, even though he loved baseball, because he was afraid to go to the urinal. He was alcoholic for years. It ruined his marriage. It's in the book. But the one thing I think I didn't tell you yesterday, he came back to me after he had healed and made amends with some of his boys. One would never talk to him again. 3 boys, just from the alcoholism and the anger. But I was with him on his dying bed, but he had come back to me for counseling because he had cancer in his throat area that the doctor said was caused by anger and stress, and that's where it resonated. So he said all of this time that I lived with this anger, and this caused me to get cancer, and I was with him at hospice.
Yeah. So look at this story. Think about this story, and this really brings home the fact that this child sexual abuse really is all encompassing. It'll take your health. It'll take the lives around you, his children, his wife, and his job, and the people at work. Everyone's affected. It's a storm. It's a storm of events that happen, and it's very difficult. So so that's an important story that really plays into a lot of the symptoms, whether they're
that's just one of many.
yeah, that's just one of many, right? And this gentleman that you took care of encompassed so many parts of male sexual abuse as an adult, and the and the expression of all of those things. So there are 7 parts to this I wanted to bring out and see if I can run through them really quick because we're running out of time. But sometimes this is an odd section here. This part 2, this second part. Boys, they've got hormones, and sometimes when they're getting abused, they can get sexually aroused during this sexual abuse. And that does not mean, it's really important, it does not mean at all that this is wanted or liked or asked for by the child.
Right.
However, the
reaction.
adult will, the adult's going to use that against them. They'll say, well, you liked it, and I'm going to
and they might believe that, and that it brings up sexual identity issues.
Yeah.
Later
And
on,
so the manipulation starts right there. Now you're convincing the child that this sexual response that they had shows that they're a willing participant and they're complicit in this abuse. It's really not abuse. It's you wanted it, you liked it, and apparently you want more. This is the problem. And so this empowers that abuser who relies on that child's shame and guilt in uppercase bold letters, shame and guilt. And shame and guilt is what carries this abuse through, covers it up initially, and later on really does prevent that child from seeking out the help and finding some relief from this abuse that has gone on years earlier. The next one up really quick is abusers manipulate their victim using their tools of shame and guilt. Those shame and guilt is a tool that the abuser is going to use, and it's very important to know. Yeah, and they rely on that misperception of the child, that making them believe they're a willing participant in this abuse, and this carries on for years like this. This is classic manipulation. Boys are children; they don't understand the complexity of adults and what's going on around them and the situation they're in. And unfortunately, this can play later, changing how they perceive normal adult interactions, whether it's just friends they can't tell the difference between friends and do they want sex. What do they don't even know what's what in once they become adults. It's hard for them to start understanding, at least without help. And that, someone like Tiffany would come and help them start to parse that out and break that down, unpack that, and fully understand exactly what's what. Sexual abuse, number 4, sexual abuse and assault harms these boys and, of course, and girls and women in ways that are similar but different, equally harmful. So boys and girls are harmed equally, but in different ways. So long-term studies, we found that both male and female children's effects of sexual abuse is very damaging. However, it's damaging in different ways. Young males experience a higher incidence of I have to say it, penetration than their young female counterparts, just because. I'm not going to go into the anatomy. The CDC studies have found that male penetration is associated with greater psychological harm. Of course, there's physical injury, but psychological harm, and that goes for a long time. That goes for really goes forever. It's very sad. Boys suffer this harm because adults choose, to not believe them. The adults around them. I think that was it Larry telling us. He went for help. The church.
No, that was Joe.
Oh, Joe, I'm sorry, Larry. Joe was saying that he sought out help and he was shoved aside, discarded. You're just suck it up, or they didn't believe him. It's very, very difficult. So they suffer harm because the adults around them choose not to deal with this or help them, and so that creates more harm on harm. You start layering the harm. It's very difficult, and this leads to what many believe they have a tough it out type thing. The adults around them say, just deal with it, tough it out, suck it up, that sort of thing.
Or manipulation,
And then
say, if you tell anyone, they're going to think this of you. If you tell
right,
anyone, they're going to tell you this of you, or it's my
right.
word, it's yours, or blah, blah, blah.
That's that shame and guilt coming up again. That's the power of shame and guilt. So once
You wouldn't have come with me if you didn't want this. It's la, 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 la.
Once you, Miss Tiffany, dig that out of them and get them to say, I understand now, it's not what I did, it's what they did, you can start relieving that shame and guilt.
Whatever. I almost cussed. Not the child.
No cussing. Only the guest.
It almost came out. Well, I have a soft spot for this topic. So
yes, definitely. All right. Do we have time for 5, 6, and 7, or are we out? Are we up and we have to do this another time?
4 minutes. So
4 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Boys can be sexually abused by both straight and gay men and women. So the sexual preference of the abuser has nothing to do with what they're doing. Not at all. Sexual abuse is a result of an abusive behavior that's taking advantage of that child's vulnerability. So what does that really mean? They're manipulating a child and they want something out of that child, and it's a sick deal, and it has nothing to do. It's not related, no way related to the sexual orientation of the abusive person or the child. It has no play in there. Sexual orientation of the abuser is not relevant to the abusive interaction, because whatever sex they're doing, that's not it's not sex. It's not love. It's not affection. They're just overpowering them. It's abusive. It's a power play. That's all it is. Sexual abuse is not a sexual relationship. It's assault.
Disorder, all sorts of stuff. Let's just
it's
go
assault
through
and
them without
battery.
the explanation, because I want to get through them, but we're running out of time.
We are. We have 6. 6 is important. I'll say it really quick.
Right. There's 6 and 7, so you read them, and so that we can get them out.
Okay. All right. Whether the victim is gay, straight, or bisexual, boys' sexual orientation is neither the cause or the result of sexual abuse. Okay? That's important. It doesn't matter. And then most young kids, young males who are sexually abused or assaulted will not go on to sexually abuse or assault others. Most of them do not. They did find some prevalence, a little bit small. We talked about that yesterday.
Every survivor is going to be a predator. Thank you. That we have to wrap up because we're going to get cut off. It's going to cut us off. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right. Do your wrap.
We can wrap up the radio, and and continue virtually if you have some more to get out. But I got to close up the radio show right now. Okay.
No.
Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Moments of Clarity. From now on, will be Fridays, every Friday at noon on Tan Talk Radio and all the virtual outlets. For more information, just go to mocwithtiffany.com. Thank you so much, Dr. Chase, for part 2 of this, and for Ed and for everyone that participated, called in, and all that support, ending the stigma on mental health, and for the votes and everything that we had during the
Congratulations.
I mean, I couldn't have done it without the people's choice. So thank you very much. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful weekend. If any of this resonated, we learned yesterday, dial 988, 998 or 988.
It's 988.
988 for help. If you have suicidal ideations, or if anything of it has been a trigger to you or anyone you know, please seek help. Look up on Psychology Today, find a therapist near you, see if they specialize with sexual abuse. Just start there, and most therapists are covered with insurance.
Tiffany Warner too.
Well, yeah, if you're local, but we'll just say, okay, but I mean, there's a lot of therapists out there. Anyway, thanks for everything, and tune in next week. And if you are interested in being an advertiser, sponsor, or guest, please contact us at mocwithtiffany@gmail.com. Yeah, have a wonderful weekend.
All right.
Moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind, it will please your mind. Don't put yourself down, time for a change. Believe in yourself, time to rearrange. Be your best friend, bring hope to your day. Lose your critic, get out of your way. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity. Now I get it, moments of clarity. To yourself, be kind, it will please your mind. Find your joy, trust in you. Put in the time, you'll see how you grow. Many kinds of love you get to define. Find self-love, you're so alive. Now it clicks, moments of clarity. Now I hear moments of clarity.